Oh no, I'm stuck. This is just like that one scene in Austin Powers. 72-point turn.
Each week, I get the free game from the Epic Game Store. I have over 400 titles, and until the start of the series, I played less than half. A dozen. I've stopped calling myself a gamer and started calling myself a collector. Now, I may never get through my back catalogue, but I can't stop it getting worse. Join me as each week I play through the latest giveaways, and maybe we find some gems along the way.
If lust could kill, she'd tear your heart to pieces and eat it. No reason, got venom in her lipstick, sadistic, I'm dead. I'd be buried like 10 feet, come get me. I'll dress it for a funeral, as usual, I'm dead.
This week's giveaway was Caravan SandWitch. Caravan SandWitch is a casual exploration adventure game where you drive around the planet of Sigilo, completing quests, collecting supplies, and slowly uncovering what happened to your missing sister. You wake up at a transit station and discover you've received a distress message from your estranged sister, Garance. So naturally, you head back to your home planet to see what's going on. Before you can even board the train, you run into Nefle, who's also heading home after dropping out of their studies. Once you arrive on Sigilo, we find out that Garance has been missing for 6 years and is presumed dead. So naturally, the first thing I did was absolutely none of that investigating. Instead, Rose crashed a camper van and I'm tasked with taking it back to Nefle's workshop for repairs. But before I could even assist with repairs, I was told I needed to help the townsfolk disable a bunch of signal jammers that had been placed all over the planet by a mega corporation. Just so happens that Nefle created a device that could do just that. After giving Rose a lift home, I'm finally handed the keys to the camper van, allowing me to properly explore the planet. Nefle then reveals they've designed an antenna capable of tracking electronics, which sounds incredibly useful. There's just one small problem. They need a handful of spare components to build it, and this is essentially the brunt of the game. Organize some supplies for a happy hour gathering, get some components. Disable a radar, get some components. Find a watering device for the garden, get some components. Pretty much every quest boils down to doing a simple favor for someone, collecting some supplies, and eventually using those supplies to build the next upgrade, which then allows you to find even more supplies. And honestly, I'm completely fine with that. Caravan SandWitch is an incredibly chill game. There doesn't appear to be any time limit on any of the quests, which is particularly amusing considering the game makes it seem like there's supposed to be some sort of urgency surrounding your missing sister.
Aren't you forgetting something?
If it looks like I'm absolutely flying through this game in some of the footage, that's because I am. Unfortunately, my original footage was far too choppy, so I had to re-record it again in windowed mode. I'm not entirely sure whether this was an issue with the game or with my recording software, but at least we got there in the end. If you're looking for exhilarating gameplay, this probably isn't the game for you. But if you're after something relaxing with a story-driven adventure and a world you can explore at your own pace, I'd definitely give this one a shot. I was actually pretty engaged with this one by the end of my initial playthrough, and I found myself not really wanting to switch it off yet. So I'm giving Caravan SandWitch a 7 out of 10. As there was only one giveaway this week, I dug through my back catalogue to bring you Guild of Dungeoneering. This was originally available from November 18th to November 25th of 2021. Guild of Dungeoneering is a rogue-lite deck-building dungeon crawler where you build the dungeon and then leave your hero to make their own questionable decisions. I started my adventure with a guild hall and blueprints for a barracks, so I built the barracks and unlocked my first class, Chump. With no gold and absolutely no other options, I headed off dungeoneering. I was given a half-completed dungeon with the objective of defeating 3 monsters, along with 5 cards each turn, of which I could play up to 3 to build the dungeon. These cards are a mix of rooms, gold, and enemies. As this was still the tutorial, I watched as the game placed these cards for me. Then I watched as my hero chose her own path, straight into the rubber ducky. Combat time. I was given a deck of cards to cycle through, with options including Cower, which blocks 1 incoming attack, Eyes to Close to Punch, which deals 1 damage, and Lucky Hit, which deals 2 damage. So naturally, I clicked on the card with the most amount of icons on it, maximum DPS. This left the rubber ducky with 1 HP, meaning I could easily finish it off on my next turn. I was given a choice of 3 pieces of equipment, having absolutely no idea what any of them did, and none of them looking particularly worthwhile at this point. I went with the gold.
I like money!
This gave me a loot card which I could use on my next turn of dungeon building. I built a room, put the gold in it, and then attempted to put more coins in the same room, but unfortunately this was not an option.
Nope.
So instead I placed a giant bat, which was definitely not a vampire. I figured that maybe more enemies meant more experience. It wasn't until much later that I discovered you only level up by defeating enemies that you match or exceed in your current level. Oh well, at least there'll be more loot. I then failed to block an attack that healed the bat before attempting to block an attack that was completely unblockable. Needless to say, my first adventurer died.
Which animal would be a dungeoneer? A cunning fox, an agile deer, or a fearsome beast for a foe's condemning? But alas, this dungeoneer's a lemming.
So I placed a graveyard, recruited another chump, and went again. This time with a slightly better understanding of how combat worked, I defeated the duck, grabbed a weapon, and eventually came face to face with a particular nasty rat. I blocked its neurotoxin attack, which would have caused me to discard a card, punched the rat a few times, leveled up, and finished the scenario with some coin to spend.
Well now, this is just really quite surprising. Thanks to you, I've lost a wager. Against all odds, you're surviving. Next time, I hope you find more danger.
I unlocked some additional loot options and headed off to Quest 2, Rat Pack. And then it was pretty much rinse and repeat for the next few hours. Because this is essentially what Guild of Dungeoneering is. Buy some unlocks, complete some quests, lose some adventurers, and occasionally figure out how the game actually works. It's a quirky twist on the traditional dungeon crawler, where instead of controlling your hero, you build the dungeon around them and then have absolutely no control over which path they decide to take. And like any good roguelite, sometimes the game simply doesn't give you the tools you need. No matter what you do, you're going to die occasionally. But Guild of Dungeoneering gives you plenty of opportunities to minimize that risk. Once you understand how the mechanics work and start making smarter decisions, it's actually quite difficult to lose. I discovered this quite late into my playthrough after trapping myself in a 3-tile corridor and finally realizing something I'd somehow missed for hours. You don't actually have to play all 3 cards. If none of the monsters on offer look particularly appealing, you could just not play them. End your turn and move on. Apparently, sometimes the best move is doing nothing at all. I really enjoyed Guild of Dungeoneering. The hand-drawn on scrap paper aesthetic is incredibly charming, and I particularly like how all the equipment you collect actually appears on your hero during combat. The music also does a great job of creating a relaxing atmosphere, while the poet spouting complete nonsense at the end of each scenario makes it pretty clear that this game isn't taking itself too seriously. And honestly, I think that's a big part of its charm. It's simple, quirky, somewhat strategic, and manages to make repeatedly sending disposable chumps into a dungeon feel far more entertaining than it probably should. For that, I'm giving Guild of Dungeoneering an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for next week's giveaway of Card Apocalypse, also by the makers of Guild of Dungeoneering. And as always, if you played either of these titles yourself, please drop a comment and let me know your thoughts.